So I was born in Lancaster. I had a really nice childhood growing up, a really happy one. I was always surrounded by my cousins and my mum, my dad, my twin sister. I've got 4 brothers. I've got 2 sisters, so there's 6 of us all together. So yeah, it was always very busy.
What were you like as a young person?
Now looking back as I'm older, I realise that, yeah, it was quite hard for me as a little girl at times. I used to overthink a lot. Like now I can recognise that I did, but at the time, obviously, I didn't know that. I think I was always observing adults and seeing how they would act with each other, and I would sort of like, make sure I was doing similar because that's what I thought was right because I was looking up to the big adults. I was 14 when I first tried drugs, and that was pills. I was going to a house party, and loads of my friends were as well, and everyone decided to take pills, and I decided to try one that night, and then after that, it sort of became like a common theme. Like every weekend, we'd be in school and we'd be talking about what parties we'd be going to on the weekend, and everyone would be like, "Oh, how many pills are you getting? Should we group together and get this many between us?" And even though that's like a shocking thing to say to take pills at 14, like at the time that was just like completely normal. Like everyone did it. And that's when I went on to things like, at these parties, people would also take coke, and so then I'd experiment with other things, MDMA, cocaine pills, stuff like that. And then it wasn't till I was around 17 that I heard about ketamine not long before it, and that's when I started. I actually tried it for the first time at a party, and I hated it. The feeling was just. It was like I was out of control of my own body. I felt it was like a zombie-like state, and I hated that. But after, just socialising and stuff and speaking with friends at the time, I remember that everyone was telling me that I just didn't like it because it was my first time, and I was drinking alcohol at the time as well, and that has a whole different effect. And that's when I started, just slowly taking it a little bit more after that in settings during the day, not in the evening, not at parties, and that's when I started to like it, and that's when I was like, yeah, this is the drug for me.
Tell me more about that feeling of like when you took it. What was the impact, I suppose, like on your body, your senses?
The feeling of ketamine, it was, when I started to love it, that was because it was like, it'd feel like it sort of would numb your body, numb your mind, which is probably one of the big reasons why I loved it so much, because my mind is always racing. So when I took that, it just was like, whoop. And that's why I was like, yes, this is the one for me. I didn't really think I was addicted at the time, but now looking back, I probably was at this point, because I was taking it about 3 or 4 times a week, and I'd sit in my car, I'd go and get it off the dealer, go and sit in my car on a car park on the promenade and sniff cat. Then I'd continue to drive about all night, come back to the car park, sniff cat, and most of the time I wouldn't be alone, I'd be with friends. So, that would feel completely normal to me at the time. Even though I knew it wasn't completely normal, because I wasn't the only one doing it, it made me feel like, oh, right, well, this is okay then, because I'm not the only one. After a while, I did think, this is a bit of a problem, I think, and that is around the time when I actually started experiencing the first signs of the physical impairments of what cat can do to you, because I started to get the feeling like I had a UTI. It just felt like a little bit of a burning feeling down below, and the first thing that I could think to do was to go and get some cranberry juice. At the time, little 18-year-old me, 19-year-old me, I didn't have a clue about what ketamine could do. When I actually first went to the doctors about it was in 2021, I finally got the courage to. They did all sorts of tests. They would, wee samples, ultrasound, stuff like that, and it would all come back normal, and they would all be a bit confused. And this whole time, I didn't 100% know it was actually cat bladder at this point. That's why I call it cat bladder. Ketamine bladder, and now that I know, it's what happens is the way that ketamine metabolises inside your body then affects the bladder wall. It basically just shreds the bladder lining, and that causes your bladder to shrink or be sunken, which then makes the capacity a hell of a lot smaller. So my capacity, a female bladder should hold 500 millilitres, and I think a male is 600. And mine, at its worst, was holding 20 millilitres. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of weeing. My bladder was working way more than it needed to. So And that's why you have the urgency, because your bladder's then shrunk and you're weeing all the time. And I'm really sorry, but can I just go for a quick wee?